Good morning, everyone. This should be a good one because I'm a little fired up, and
Woo!
We're gonna talk about poor people. Okay,
We're
gonna
people.
talk about the poor people because we're going in Independence Day. This is Independence Day Eve, and so there were a lot of things happening in 1776 that may just make my soul overfill with pride to be a contributor to this country.
Your cup runneth over.
It does. This is my Super Bowl.
Okay.
When I get to really value this
your
place.
Favorite holiday?
It's one of them.
For someone who doesn't typically care for holidays, this is the one you're like, all right, I'm in on this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, like, I think we're gonna float some idealistic ideals. Idealistic ideals. Is that even a proper?
Idea? Oh,
we're gonna be idealistic, and we're gonna float some ideals. That's better. That's proper grammatics. So
okay,
we'll continue. So we're gonna talk about poor people. I don't know if you paid attention over the Big Beautiful Bill, or now what's considered the Act is what they've named it.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that? By the
way?
Did we talk about that?
Yeah. We mentioned that a little bit, and I've been again slowly trying to dive into what's even in this thing, but I'm not about to pull it up and read all of it.
So we did a 24-hour marathon from 7 o'clock yesterday or 9 o'clock yesterday to 9 o'clock today is when the House of Representatives have taken on the Senate changes that were made to leads to a certain vote. And I believe Hakeem Jeffries right now is on the floor. He is just vomiting. He has a folder that has 160 pages of accounts of people who are fearful that they're going to be thrown off of Medicaid. And so I looked up at the stats, right? And and there are a lot of poor people in this country, and that irritates the shit out of me. That we in a prosperous country that has limitless opportunity, that we have so many people who are struggling, and I think that is a sin. And I think the current culture is something that I vehemently disagree with. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
I like it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you ask all the time, like, when's Joe going to get involved in politics?
Yep.
I'm not going to directly get into politics, but this is the origin story of what I'm about to do. And you're along for the ride because I don't know if you guys know this, but Kelin is my wingman. I have been manipulating and propagandizing to her for over 2 years.
Yes, I've been drinking the Kool-Aid.
Totally drinking the Kool-Aid. So everything that I'm about to do over the next decade, you are going to be next to me.
Am I going to be like your Carolyn Leavitt to your Trump?
Maybe Ghislaine Maxwell. You're going to be my Ghislaine Maxwell.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Wait.
Sorry, that was a bad
to your Epstein?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
oh okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry for making it uncomfortable for a moment. Okay, but let's talk about why am I singling out poor people? Should there be poor people in the United States? Will there always be poor people in the United States?
Well, I feel like that's two totally different questions. Will there always be? Probably.
Okay.
Should there be? I wouldn't say there should be. I don't think anyone would want there to be, but realistically, probably, unless there's major changes.
Like what? Well, what contributes to, because everybody who's listening here will tell you the fringe exceptions about people who are poor and can't help it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so those people, fine. Like those are ones that cannot be helped through any exercise. Those are your invalids, the people who do not have a choice in it. And then everybody above the has a choice in it, right, is redeemable. Somebody who can be taught, instructed, motivated to then look at prosperity, know that it's a possibility, and start heading there.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I feel like when you talk about like rich, poor, classes of any kind, people always want to sort of find this government tied issue or reason or problem. I tend to sort of look at it as more of like a social problem, being when I think offhand about people that I have known or met or seen that could be considered poor or in that sort of rut or trap of not making enough money, not having what they need, feeling like they can't climb out. it always goes back to choices they made.
Okay.
And then the choices their family members made. You know, they are this way because they were taught by their parents who are that way, who had the same advantages as the parents before them. And it's sort of like this generational pattern of bad habits on their end.
Okay. Well, that's one element. And I do agree with you. But we're in the information age. It's not like you cannot do research if you really want to. Like if I said, I am poor and I don't want to be, what choices?
Yeah.
So you have access to information. So then what would separate or be an obstacle to someone who has the information that they can know how to not be in their predicament, and the distance between doing the things that change their predicament?
What could be an obstacle?
What can be some obstacles? Because that's the origin of my plight, what I'm going to go after. Because I have hatred for Democrats for this one thing. I think they're evil people for this one thing. And policy and what they're good at, I'm shelving for now. And here's what they do that I think is what Satan would do.
Bet I know what it is. Go
ahead.
on.
No,
I feel like it has something to do with keeping victims.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so on Independence Day, let's talk about what independence is. Do you know what independence is? Free from the governing and ruling and dependence on other people. Independence means you don't need anybody, right?
Yeah.
Dependence
Do it
means
myself.
dependence means that I need you for something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to offload my responsibilities to you. The Democrats collect power the more enslaved people there are to dependence. Okay, so they have an end when they tell you that you can't overcome, right? It's not a noble gesture. They want to accumulate power by the number of people whose futures depend on what they give you or do for you or supply to you. All right, put you on an island. You got to survive. Nobody's saving you. What can you do versus what you can't do? And Democrats want you to be 100% dependent on the function of government, right?
Yeah.
And they will use victimization and they will use those fringe elements of people who literally can't. You're in a wheelchair, you can't run a marathon. You're in a position, you can't get a job. Have health or problems, you can't participate with the rest of them. We're not talking about those. Those fringe ones are the ones that when we've come to the conclusion that somebody just really can't, by definition, you cannot get a job, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people that, yes, we will take care of them because we're charitable. It's part of the culture of being, a citizen of the United States, is we take care of the people who can't. But the Democrats try to put people who can in the can't camp, and then they enslave them and keep telling them that no, don't even bother trying to bootstrap yourself.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Like, look at all those
you
people.
have problems. It's not your
Yeah.
fault. And there's
So
nothing you can do.
But there's a couple of movies. Do you remember that? I forget. No Wire Hangers movie.
Oh, yeah,
What the
yeah,
heck was that?
No
What was it called?
Wires. I never saw it, but I know of it. Is it something in the attic or?
Well, but
Uh,
it was basically a mother
yeah.
who was enslaving their own and dominating psychologically and keeping someone convicted into a situation that wasn't really real. And they needed them to stay in that. It was a psychological disorder to keep somebody in peril for the sake of political gain. And I think that's the most evil thing that we can do. So,
Sound like what Gypsy Blanchard's mother did or something? Those people that like purposely
kept them
keep
sick.
them sick. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what the Democrats do. They accumulate more power and influence when people are kept sick. So I'm going to be the opposite of that. And I'm going to be impervious to politics whatsoever, because I don't care. I hear JFK's words in my brain, right? So what's the famous quote from JFK?
Oh my God.
Ask not
What your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Yes, and I'm not going to get bogged down into the political posturing, because I don't think the Republicans do this well either.
Right.
Because here's what they do. They're like, we're going to set the stage and then you figure it out. And the Democrats say, don't worry about that stage. We're just going to supply everything that you need so you'll continue voting for me. Both of that's horseshit, because people obviously are not figuring it out and they're getting addicted to the benefits that government can provide. And we've gone from July 4th planting a flag and giving blood to be independent, right? And we've gone towards dependence, and that's what I'm going to fight against. I'm going to fight against dependence. So what are your options? Do you want just independence where nobody's figuring out? That just causes suffering. So maybe independence isn't what I'm going to be celebrating this weekend. I'm going to be celebrating interdependence. Interdependence. Do you know what interdependence is? Give me
No.
Kelin's definition.
Interdependence. I don't know. Interdependence would probably be something like, I don't know.
Okay, so this is sort of like reciprocal relationships, right?
Okay.
You're good at something, I'm good at something. We're going to work together, and I know that I need you for certain things, and you know that you need me for certain things. So I'm going to do my part, you're going to do your part, and we're going to try like hell not to think the part that we're bringing to the equation is more important than the part that you're bringing to the equation. So if you need me, I'm going to provide it, and you are going to try to give back to me in the same level that I gave into you. That's interdependence. And I told you this is an ideological. This is an ideal
working as a team where there's not this scorekeeping. There's not this you owe me because I did this.
Trying to take more from you than I'm giving.
Yeah, can I give more?
Right.
And
so I'm going to give my JFK speech, but I'm going to make an alteration to it where it's going to be about independence, you not getting fixated on being taken advantage of by the other guy, you trying to outgive the person on the other side. Okay. And in business, we just, the prosperous become prosperous because they find relationships of two people that are trying to outgive one another. And in that pursuit, what they do is they stop thinking of themselves and what they're not getting and the envy and greeds of what the Democrats preach, right?
Yeah.
They're thinking about, let me try to give you more. So then you do the same and try to give me more. And so long that none of us fall victim to any of our vices, that is infinite.
I've heard that concept related to like marriages and
100%,
successful, happy marriages.
60%, right?
Yeah.
The famous quote is that a relationship is not 50-50, it's 60-40, and both of you are fighting to be the 60.
Yeah. Yeah.
See?
You don't worry about what you're not getting. You just focus on what more can you do? What more can you give? And if you're both doing that.
That is the secret sauce, and that is what I'm going to dedicate the next decade of my life to.
You mean that's the campaign you're running on?
I am not getting political because politicians don't think that way. John has a lot to offer this discussion because he is really jaded on the rich versus poor deal. So he's going to add, I'm certain that he's going to add some to the show. He says, as long as there is healthcare and education debt, there will be poor people. I'm not going to subscribe. In fact, I'm hitting the reset button on all of my feelings and thoughts. And I am going to start anew. I'm going to hit the master reset button, and I'm going to get everybody a pass on anything that they felt and said before. And I am just going to help people in true truth. And, you know, and poor people and entrepreneurs are not different at all, right? When I sit down with somebody who's struggling on the business side, do you know they say the same shit? Because what they want to do is write it in their brain. They've got so much ego that they want to give you the reason why they're coming up short, and they have everybody to blame. And you know what I think?
Like sometimes I feel like it's cliche. If you ask somebody, what do you do? And they say, I'm an entrepreneur. You almost want to be like, oh, you're unemployed. You have no job. No offense.
No offense.
But typically.
But one of the first discussions I have with entrepreneurs who want to blame everybody else, they want to blame the economy and the labor market and finances and healthcare and, you know, the bank wouldn't do this for me.
Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to do this.
They have a million justifications. And I'm like, hey, here's the thing. You're basically either trying to convince me that there's nothing you can do, or I'm going to convince you that things that you do have a chance and increase your probability of getting successful. So we can end this right now, and you could just be convinced that you can't do anything about it, and the plight is too big for human beings to pursue, or you're going to let me talk, and I'm going to tell you how to start engineering. And second step, after they've agreed to that, okay, you're about right. I was just making excuses to make my ego feel better. Then we're like, write down on this paper the things that you do, and we're going to pick the things that you shouldn't do anymore. And we're just going to eliminate the things that are unnecessary. And once we eliminate the things that are unnecessary, if you have the discipline to eliminate the unnecessary things without excuses like, Yeah, but I like going to Disney 6 times a year. Bullshit. If you want this thing over here, you're going to listen to everything I have to say over here. This is what's hurting you, and get rid of the things that are unnecessary than hurting you. And then we can start strategizing over things that are harder than just not doing justified bad behavior in your world. So you're a drug addict, you're a poor person, you're addicted to educational taking classes that you can't afford. You're addicted to want to be a rock star when it doesn't financially make sense. All of those things I can, it's not a personal thing with me. It's a math thing. Right.
Yeah. You'll hear a lot too. People will like point out something they continuously buy that is not serving them. And they'll be like, but YOLO, and I just wanted it. And
that is
make me
that
happy.
Is the cost of being poor, is those what people tell you is acceptable to say, and then a non-bullshitter sits in front of you and says, bullshit doesn't, I mean, it's up to you. Do you want out of it or not? Are you in a bad spot? Yes. Do you like being there? Yeah. No. Do you want to be gone from there? Cool. Now, here's what we're going to do. And if you don't want to do any of those things, those are the reasons why you were there, and you will stay there.
So many people like that.
That is it.
Yes.
That. And it is not harder than that. So sob stories and emotional appeals and all the justifications, they don't work with me. I am focused on taking a person that really wants something and giving them the information and the ability to go over there. That's it. 100%. There's nothing else involved. I am not going to be, you cannot market to me that I'm wrong and you're right.
I believe that.
100%.
I've seen it.
Yes. Jerry says, happy 4th. Just asking for a PSA. There are too many motorcycle accidents and deaths, and 70% are typically not the cyclist's fault. Please be aware of cyclists. Seems like every day there's a motorcycle death.
Look twice, save a life, or something like that. 4th of July PSA.
Too much, but I'm surprised there are not more motorcycle accidents than there are.
Yeah, they're scary. My husband used to have a bike, and he finally sold it a couple years ago, and I'm just like, one less thing to worry about.
Yeah,
they're scary. So yes, PSA 4th of July weekend. Bikes are out. It'll be sunny. Look twice.
Okay.
Don't drink.
All right. So I watched Hakeem Jeffries speak for about 4 hours. I watched the vote last night. I watched the grandstanding that happened. I watched how politics really, sort of categorizes what they're trying to accomplish. Right. Kicking people off Medicaid. So how many people do you think are, what is Medicaid?
Medicaid, isn't it? It's basically healthcare for people that cannot afford other forms of healthcare. It's
so
cheaper,
poor, destitute, people with disabilities,
people unemployed. Yeah.
Okay. How many would you say that exist?
Oh,
we have 340 million people in the United States. How many of them are truly in the category of they need medical help because they just can't do it and get it on their own? What's acceptable?
I feel like it should be less than half.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the smaller the number, the better. If it could be, I don't know, 20 to 30%, maybe is an actual.
It's 20%.
Oh, go me!
It's okay. 72 million people are on Medicaid. That 20% of your population can't participate in your economy and your benefit or in your services.
This legitimately.
Legitimate.
Okay. I was going to say,
as of today, legitimately is a strong word.
Yeah.
Legitimately is a strong word. But a documented recipient of benefits is estimated at 72 million people of your in the country.
Dang.
So now, what should it be? Right? How many people that are born into the greatest country in the world can't participate? Should it be 100%?
No.
Why?
You're talking about, what are you talking about? 100% as in 100% of the people are on it?
No. 100% of the people are not on it.
Oh,
where
okay.
So it has such a small subscriber base that it's almost unnecessary because few people actually can't do and work.
Yeah, that's what 100% feels unrealistic, because I know there are instances of people born with certain disabilities that physically, mentally, whatever. But maybe if it were closer to like 10% or that are truly just handed a raw deal in life, that feels more realistic as far as what I feel like it should be.
All right, under my idealistic plan, there is only in an interdependence, there is only one stipulation, that the person that you're doing something for does everything they can do to then repay or participate in what you're giving to them. So you're saying then 20% of the people just have no ability whatsoever to do anything to participate in what the country is doing for them that they can then do for their country, or have the things just not been invented or floated in ways that people can participate, where it's brought in a level that they can do some good and give back to the people who are providing for them.
Yeah, I think when we talk about participate or be involved, people automatically just assume, oh, you mean work. You mean go and hold down a job. But that's not necessarily what we mean by that.
That's the Republican short-sightedness. You'll just figure it out. I won't set up programs that give everyone a chance to participate in the outcome or giving back or being involved in the process. So you have what we are right now. You say you're an invalid, and I send you a check, and you don't have to do anything except for cash it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm suggesting figure out the appropriate reciprocation that person can do that then can make life better for people that are then behind them on the participation scale. And then so you have everybody involved in the outcome, and it's not something where if you're just receiving a check, you'll do it every time because it's just free. But you're not adding value back to the system that's providing for you. You're just a leech on it.
Yeah. And I think too, when the whole idea of making any cuts to Medicaid was coming up, they even specifically said, we are not talking about someone who can work or can in some other way serve their community.
Exactly. So if I'm going to create government programs, I want to put my administrative abilities on creating programs where people can participate and give back into the system that's taking care of them. Mm-hmm. And I bet you we get that into single digits of how many true people you've floated 10 different ways that they can give back, and they're just not capable from a mental capacity, from a physical capacity to an opportunity capacity. There's just going to be some people that are off the reservation. And then you and I will agree, if it's 1% of the community that we get to take care of, then we help those people because they literally can't do any of the things that we're asking them to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Not unreasonable, right?
Not unreasonable.
Is it unreasonable to ask a poor person to work harder, do more, have more accountability if they're going to receiving a benefit? Is it unfair?
Work harder, do more if they're going to.
Yeah. So I take a poor person that's really got a lot of trauma in their background. And so they'll tell you the sob story about how they just can't do anymore. Is it unreasonable or unempathetic to require them to participate and do more for other people than they're doing right now?
I don't think so, because I think that will benefit them.
It would give them purpose.
Yeah.
They would have less jadedness, and especially when we get the Democrats to shut the F up and tell them how they can't help it and they can't do more and they can't be part of it.
Yeah.
Right? If we get them to shut up, that would do huge psychologically.
Like, what is it doing for them to simply say, oh my gosh, I feel for you. I hear you. I see you. You are stuck, and that really sucks.
But let's get beyond that right now. Right?
But there's something you can do. There's hope. Let's see if we can change the situation. Like, anybody who thinks the former is better than the latter, it's just delusional.
Right.
Because I have been in situations where I was facing something and somebody's like, but you know what? It's not your fault. And I went, okay. But I need hope. Like, you got to give me something though. Like, you have this and it sucks. So now what? Like, then what can we do? And it's not until they're like, okay, but here's a game plan. Here's what's going to help. Great. Now I feel better. Now I have hope. Now I can, like, people who don't have purpose or hope or the ability to change anything, that's when you start to like the depression and the failing health, and then the stagnant lifestyle, and it's like you're not helping them by keeping them in that victim mindset.
For sure. And mothers would know this, that if you took a 10-year-old and every day you just told them, yeah, the everything's just so bad, there's no way that you have any hope, they're going to believe you, right? Mm-hmm. And especially if then you rain benefits down on them for agreeing with you that it's hopeless and there's no way you have opportunity. What do you think they become? Almost 100% of the time is someone who's not going to buck back. They're going to believe what you said is true because there's actual evidence of it. And nobody with any good common sense tried to say, well, hold on, there is something you can do. It's not 100% chance that it's going to work out. But, if you didn't make the baseball team and it's because, the coach doesn't like you and they have their favorite players and so few people make it to baseball, you really shouldn't even take that baseball thing. Right.
Yeah.
Versus saying, you know what, let's try, let's go into the backyard. And what you can do in the backyard is you can play catch with me and you can hit the baseball. I can't guarantee that you're going to go into a system that's going to make you win because we're going to try hard, but this is really your only option. You are restricted to anything you can physically do. And I've named some things that you can physically do. Do all of those things. And then we'll talk about how you did all the right things and lost anyway, because there are those injustices.
Yeah.
Now, politically, that will be when I start getting into politics. It will be
you
because
said when, huh?
I did say that, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
It will be because that I want to make sure the people who try aren't systematically given a disadvantage.
Yeah.
I will truly push up against that. So if you make the case that, a black dude can't make it because of systemic injustices, I am super interested in what those injustices are. And I will help you spearhead the crap out of those things.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, because if they are legit and they actually exist,
nobody would agree with that.
That's what you need to fight against.
100%. But if you're like, those things exist and they're totally unchangeable, so you might as well not even try and just vote for me and I'm going to cut you a check. Bullshit. You're just creating total dependence. So on 4th of July, we celebrate independence. And the Democrats want you to be completely dependent. And the Republicans want you to be independent. And I hope you figure it out. I want that middle ground of interdependence and working with other people and structuring relationships so we are both giving back. 100% unlikely that I can get all kinds of selfish secular people to stop thinking about themselves for 2 seconds and look out for the other guy in a real empathetic way, but I'm still going to try.
And I always say, when it goes back to people being poor, it is, for me, a lack of education. And I'm not talking about higher education, going to college, completing a certain grade. I'm talking about this. That for whatever reason, they have managed to avoid any and all people in their life that could have ever explained this to them. That you are not stuck. That you are not.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Let me tell you why. And I want you to defend against it. So everybody knows that if you eat ice cream and drink soda, you're going to get fat, right? And so if I share the information, hey, if you just stop eating the ice cream and drinking the soda, you will not be fat. You're not going to be like, oh, I didn't know that.
But then they're surrounded by generations of the ones that are like, you know what? But
it's
that's
not
all you
information.
have.
It's not
but
information.
That's all you can do.
You know it.
But
so it's psychological dependence.
Yeah.
Where it's accepted and the whole your feelings and confidence and telling you what you want to hear. That's a byproduct of trying to make people feel good so that we underscore all of their bad decision making.
Yeah.
And then they feel like so if I talk to the person that's doing nothing but eating, fried chicken sandwiches and ice cream, and you're like, Joe, I really want to lose some weight. Right. Do they not know what I'm going to say to them if I'm actually giving them information? Right.
You're going to know.
Don't they already know what they have to say? Joe, can you make me lose weight and not make any changes whatsoever? Sure, like magic wand, pull it out of the back and boom, right? That's what they want to hear.
Because then they come with the more excuses. you're going to say, well, don't eat this. It's putting on weight. And they're going to be like, but I also have this condition. And so it doesn't matter if I don't. So I might as well. And it's like,
yeah. So it's not a lack of information. I don't want to give the excuse that it is.
Yeah, not a lack of information, a lack of, I guess, maybe the people around them that call bullshit. You know, it's like they're surrounded by the like-minded people. That's why they're all in this situation, generation after generation, is they're going to say, yeah, I would like to eat healthier, but it's too expensive and we don't have the money. Or I would like to eat healthier, but I can't because I have this inability to go get the food or whatever it is. It's always something.
Okay. So you as a mom, your kid says, Mom, I want to be a professional artist. Look at my painting, right? Now, I want you to take the 3 approaches here.
Mm-hmm.
That is terrible, right? That's you are
terrible.
Nowhere near being an artist.
Yep.
Totally critical and telling you information that is just going to take all the winds out of your sails.
Yeah.
Versus, honey, that is beautiful. You're going to be Michelangelo. And the kid's like, oh, I must be really good at art. I don't even really need to practice. Versus that middle ground where we're not going to bullshit you and tell you something that's going to take the motivation to get better and practice more. And we're not going to tell you that it's actually dog shit and you shouldn't do it. So if you can orient yourself and say things that are hard to other people, you actually give them proper information where it's not bullshit and it's not bullshit. It's right somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. My daughter's really into baking and she watches Kids Baking Championship on the Food Network or whatever it's on. And she wanted to be on the show so bad. And I want to go and I want to, compete and bake and win this money. And we had to very nicely explain to her, you know what, kiddo, like, for your age and how long you've been doing this, you're really getting good. You've really got a foundation here. I really see potential in you. And a lot of the stuff you make is excellent, but you're not there yet. You cannot just sign up and go and think you are on that level. You're not. It's not that you won't ever be. You're clearly got a good start, but you got to stick with it a little longer and keep working. And then maybe you can get to that point. But you're not yet. And to me, I feel like that's, you don't suck. Dream on, kid. And it's not, oh, absolutely. Where's the form? Let's get you on this show right now. It's like, let's be realistic and it's like that compliment sandwich. You're really great. You're really great. But let's work on this, That is interdependence. And if I could pick up a poor person from one of these neighborhoods and put them in front of you and say, here's a poor person. And they are your daughter who just baked the worst cupcakes that you've ever eaten whatsoever. But they tell you that they really want something more than they have right now. So you both have all of the reasons why they are in the predicament that they are. And all the information that you could help them and save. They just put it on a piece of paper. Show me everything you do for 7 consecutive days. Don't skip anything. Do it time by time, action by action, everything that you're doing. Now, shit sandwich them, right? What would you tell them? Hey, with your history and everything you've experienced, you've done a really good job of keeping your shit together. But there's some things in what you're doing that are making it more probable that tomorrow's going to be worse than it is today. But let's do this. You got me as a partner here, and I'm going to help you conquer all of these things that are going to seem hard at the time, but I'm going to be with you as your accountability partner as we practice through these and get it more that your activity sheet looks more like a prosperous person and less like a victim. Yeah.
What? Gears are turning.
I've got like so many different thoughts in my head. Because I even feel like, that expression, misery loves company?
Yes.
There are people that see someone else making changes and will try to keep them down because they are.
Yeah, they're Democrats. That's what Democrats do.
Democrats.
It's for the same reason. Democrats accumulate power by creating dependency. If they can, like the minute that I come out and say bootstraps, every Democrat's going to say they can't do it. How dare you even suggest that somebody can increase their position in this world, right? Mm-hmm. Why would you even try that? Because they have a stake in keeping everybody a victim. If you jump out of that rut and you improve yourself, we have nothing in common. I can't use you. I can't abuse you. I can't make friends with you because I tell people how it's not your fault. Like, I lose you. You're no longer in my power grid.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've seen that with changes I was making in my life, and not that we're going to talk about health because we can't do that here apparently, but doing little things where some people would call me up. Hey, do you want to come over and whatever? And I'd be like, I can't right now. I got to get my workout in. Oh, come on. You can miss one. You can blah, blah, blah. No, I can't miss one because then I miss another one. And I'm on a strategy here in this game plan, and it's important to me. And shame. Hey, let's go and let's get a couple drinks. I'm actually not tonight because I really got to sleep well. I got to get up early. Come on. Oh, what are you too good to have here? Like handing it. Just take it. I'm like, am I not speaking it? No, I don't want it. And it's like, people will see you doing things, and if they are not willing to do it and they feel some kind of way about themselves, they'll try to make you stop too. Instead of them changing, I'm just going to get you to revert back.
Well, we give you my fake Bible reference because I don't know anything about the Bible. But in Leviticus 74, verse 92, God says that the demons will tempt you into the things that work against everything that you're looking out for. So if you called me and said, so you're about to work out, from me, because I'm an angelic, right? I'm just Halo and all.
Yeah.
I would say, go kill it. Like, I know you don't want to do this right now, so you don't need to hear any reason why you shouldn't do this. Suck it up. You've been doing a great job. Go freaking do that workout. I'm very proud of you. And then you would leave that conversation. You were motivated before, and you'd be like, somebody believes in me.
Yeah.
Right? You feel so good. And then you'd be like, so that's what it means when the Holy Spirit breathes life into you. It means it gives you the motivation to do things you know you should be doing, instead of like, oh, come on, don't work out. Look, there's 9 people over here. You see any of them working out? And look how happy they are, and they're smiling.
What's it matter if you miss one?
Come to my world where we don't do the things we should. It's funner doing nothing we should.
Yeah. I knew Julie was coming. When you said it's the Democrats, I could hear Julie typing. I could hear it. Let's see. Julie says, your characterization of Dems is completely screwed up. I recommend your first task is to study real Dems.
Correct me then. Tell me where the philosophical. And I will say. So let me make. Go ahead.
I will say one of the people that was sort of giving me this like, don't do that, come and do this instead, is not a Dem. So it's on both sides.
Okay. But I condemn both of them. But let me make Julie's argument, because I think this is what she's going to say. Democrats are looking out for the people, right? They're feeling the situations of those people, right? Mm-hmm. And which feels like it's good and noble.
Yeah.
All right. But what you have to do is then say, if you had a friend that was a drug user, and you care about that friend, and I care about that friend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the friend a place to sleep. I'm going to give the drugs to the friend. I'm going to make sure that they can keep doing drugs. And now, because I feel badly for their position, it's unchangeable, right? Mm-hmm. Versus you, who's a little more accountable than that. And you want your friend not to do the drugs, right? And I'm using drugs as an analog for, sort of like being an enabler for everything that makes people more dependent on a system that then you turn around and give them more benefits for being more dependent on them. So I'm taking a big group of the Democrats. And there are very few Democrats that I've listened to that break out of that mold and sort of go on the, I care enough about you that I want you to be in a better position authentically. I don't want to say, oh, you're poor, I'm going to give you $50,000. And when you're poor again in a year, saying, how the frick did that happen? Because I just enabled you to trick you into thinking you were not that thing. You were still that thing, even if I glossed over it and I made it feel inauthentically like you weren't poor anymore.
Yeah. And I have this exact example happening in my family right now.
Go ahead.
Of one person who is real bad off and the other that is enabling it. And the one who's enabling it is just, oh my God, I can't keep doing this. I don't know what else to do. And they're not doing this and they're not doing that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Who gave them a place to stay? You did. Who's giving them money? You are. Who are they living off of? You? Who's giving them the thing that's keeping them sick? You are? Like, and I understand you care for them. You want to help them. You don't like seeing them upset. All noble reasons that show you are a human being with feelings who cares for people. Great. Until you destroy them. You're destroying them.
Yeah. And so that's why I suggest, like, if Democrats are really good at feeling out, feeling out people's position and really taking care of them, when I segment out 1% of the population that can't do it for themselves, I'm going to give it to the Democrats. I'm going to say, here's $100 billion. Really take care of those people and do everything. The one thing that I don't want you to do, or you can't do as a Democrat, because I know you're that way, don't recruit more people into your camp. Don't think that if you increase the number of people who are paying attention to you, that now you have more power and control of other people. That's your limitation. I'll give you the people who I've said absolutely, are in that vein, and you just go bonkers taking care of them.
It's like, instead of giving you a fish, let me teach you to fish.
Everybody who can fish needs to be fishing, and anybody who absolutely can't fish, we're all going to take care of you because we love you.
And it's not everybody who can fish needs to be fishing because it's not fair that you're not, or because I'm mad you're not pulling your weight, or I'm just a gruff, awful person. It's because I know your life will be better. If you don't just get fed, but you learn how to feed yourself, your mental health, your physical health, your sense of self-worth, your ability to hope and be productive, to better yourself and your family, it all gets better. I'm not doing this as, oh, screw you,
and
I don't care.
Real confidence. If your daughter is really pretty and you authentic, like, would I trust you if no matter what I told you were pretty? Or if sometimes I told you, yeah, you're looking a little rough today, versus when I say, wow, you're looking really pretty today. You will have authentic confidence that the people who are talking to you aren't just like suckering you in.
Yeah. Like, there's been times where, maybe I try something on in front of my husband and I was like, do I look fat in this? Is this ugly? And he'll be like, it's not very flattering.
See? And
I said, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for being honest. Now I trust that you're not just going to be a yes man.
Exactly. Exactly. So Democrats need to know that not everybody is a victim. And I know it's good business. Like, if you're a salesperson, right? You want everybody to be your customer. So if somebody came to me and said, on the technology side, hey, I'm going to buy a computer, right? Should I buy from you? Now, if I always said, of course, you are my proper customer, versus every once in a while say, yeah, I am not what you should be doing. You need a low end thing down at Walmart that, you are. And they would be like, oh my goodness, like, I want to do business with Joe more often.
Yeah.
Because when he had a chance to hook me in and form me into his process, he gave me truthful things, and now I trust him even more.
And I have seen customers say, hey, how about this? Can you do this for me? Oh, we can. But let me tell you the process and how much it's going to cost you. And you tell me if you think that's worth it with how old that is. And they'll say, thank you for being honest.
100%.
And they come back when they have something.
But Democrats
else.
nor Republicans are honest, because both of them are salespeople for their cause, and they want as many people to support them as possible. So what they do is they market to you to make a sale, is what they do. And I'm going to be not that, right?
Yeah.
My interdependence is going to be free from success, free from failure. Right? It's just going to be an honest analytics about how things are. And I can almost guarantee you that I have 50% of the population who will support it with dollars. They'll support it with being involved in it. And there are people, 50% of the people who yesterday they thought they were a victim. I can convince them that they're not a victim and can elevate their prospects.
And I mean, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Not that he is picture perfect. He is not. But one of the things I like about RFK Jr. is the fact that he will sort of present ideas without definitive responses. He doesn't say everybody should do this, nobody should do this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, why don't you look at this information? When people are like, why won't you just tell everyone to get the measles vaccine? He's like, I'm not a doctor. And everybody wanted to rake him over the coals for saying that. And I'm like, Obviously, because even a doctor can't make a blanketed statement for everyone.
Did you know that BJ just exploded? Do you know
Sorry,
that?
BJ.
He just exploded.
Sorry.
I felt it.
But I'm saying when you have those people that are willing to be like, here's the pros and cons, here's the information. I'm not telling you what you need to do because there are other factors here at stake. And you could be honest about that. That says more to me than someone who's like, absolutely, you need this.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's all this way. That's a red flag.
Jerry says, I think Dems and reps should understand they are all Americans and understand people can have differing opinions, but they do not
maybe have to always be we and they. Jerry, are we drinking this morning already?
Now that we are grown up,
no offense,
do we
Jerry.
only hang out with our own party? It's why segregation is still around. It's important. Like the majority of people,
maybe it's not always us and them. It's we should be.
But this is everything that I'm saying is reasonable enough for people, even if they're part of those groups, they can support it because it is not joining another club. You could still be part of a Republican club. I can go to Republicans and Democrats and I can offer a little bit of acknowledgement that your strong set is X, right? And I'm going to, when it comes time to when your strong suit is here, I'm going to give you all of the responsibility because that's what the frick you're good at. And the Democrats, like, they're not all dumb. They're just really entrenched in creating more victims. And I hate that.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to empathy and taking care of people, when they're not in charge of the math that goes behind that, they're really good at feeling for the stories and the sob stories. I can picture almost at my conference table with most of the people that I've sat with. And if I had a true Democrat and a true Republican sitting at the table with me, and I was using them to give insights on what they just heard, when the person said, I'm doing this, but this, I know what both of them would freaking say. And there's nothing usable about insights that are so freaking cliche. You already know that they're going to be rejected by the person who actually needs the advice. What you need is real empathy. And I always picture when it's empathy is not words at all. It's jumping in the boat, right? When somebody is in the boat with you, you are more apt to listen to what they have to say because they are in the shit with you.
Yeah.
But if you're safely over here screaming commands about what you should do different and you've got no skin in the game, right? I'm not going to listen to you because I'm the one who's about to be in the water with piranhas. It has to be piranhas.
I would love to listen to a debate of a Republican and a Democrat. In the beginning of the debate, the moderator's like, all right, and here's the thing, ground rule before we get started. Here are a list of phrases you are not allowed to say.
100%.
And if you do, we are done here.
We're cutting your mic. AI is going to cut your mic off. So it's not even me, nothing personal.
Here are all the cliched talking head points that we hear 100 times.
If you say it, mic gets cut off.
You're done.
Absolutely. That would be grand
awesome.
idea.
That would be awesome. Julie, there are people that are truly intellectually and physically incapable of caring for themselves. Yep, we mentioned that. You knew them in school. You might be related to them. They just do not have the brain power. They need a system to be cared for. I also see the freeloaders. They also need a system to move them along.
But I think we are adaptable enough to find things where those people who don't have brain capacity or physical capacity can still contribute, because like you said, psychologically, when you're just go in a room and sit there by yourself and collect your check, you have no purpose. You psychologically, you are dead. Yeah. I wouldn't want anybody to be in a holding cell in a jail or a holding cell in their living room. You need to be out and doing something and contributing. So maybe you're not solving math equations, and maybe you're not digging ditches, and maybe you're not over here in this pursuit. But the world can create pursuits for you where you can be involved.
Yeah. So my mom for my whole life has worked in some capacity of social work. And she works for developmentally delayed adults. And I remember as a kid going to work with her one day. It was like a take your daughter to work day. And we went, I was pretty young, so I can't remember where exactly we were. It was somewhere around here. We went to this workshop where adults with a developmental delay could have a job and get paid little money. They still have to, very much live off the government and have help and aids and things, but they could make a little money doing a simple task. And they went to work and they did this thing and they enjoyed it and they had social interactions and they learned a skill. And then there was a room in the back and she took me there and I said, what are these people doing? And she's like, these people are so developmentally delayed. They can't even do that. There is no job we can give them. They really can't do much, but you're not going to sit around and feel useless and neglected all day. They come here, they interact, they do something, and maybe they're not making any money, maybe they're not building anything, but something. They're doing something. And as a kid, I remember saying to my mom, like, this is the saddest room I've ever been in. This is so sad. And now as an adult, it's like, but they were given something. They were around people. It is not, why don't you just go back to bed? Why don't you just sit in front of this TV and we'll just leave you alone?
And the Democrats would take something. I think that's a success story. I think, if somebody sent me someone who wanted to be in operations and wanted to feel what it was like to be part of something and be important and, be connected with other people, I would have the JFK. That would be a civic duty to be able to take someone, and it would not be condescending. It would not be like, oh, here's my little victim token person that I'm pretending that they're important. My goal would to make them important. I would be looking for what they could do and using them for that. It might be their sense of humor. It might be a cooking ability. It might be just greeting everybody and making everybody feel connected. I wouldn't do it in a way, well, you're different, so that I'm going to treat you like you're, like that token.
Yeah.
Like, I would truly be digging to find the value in that human being and put them to work in whatever they're good at.
And that's what this company is so great. Like, I remember we went to the home of one of our clients, and again, still it's assistant, housing and things of that nature, but it was an older man. And I remember him's like, can I show you my room? Can I show you this? Like a little kid. And I said, sure. And we went to his bedroom and there were posters of these like lady models. And I looked at my mom, I was like, is he allowed to have that? She's like, he's a man. He's a grown man. Like, we let them be them and do things and show them a life that is respectable and has purpose. And I'm just like, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah,
that's the civic duty, is to take the people. In my mentor phrased it like, no matter where you're at from the beginning to the end, you're going to have people in front of you and people behind you. And I want you to spend equal time learning from the people ahead of you and then helping the people behind you. And if you look at that race, if everybody in that race is following the same philosophy, you would be in the same investment. You'd be investing in other people as other people were investing in you. So if you have all takers, then all you're doing is gleaning from other people and never giving back anything in return. But if you once you take from somebody, you feel an obligation to give it to somebody else, then you're just a proxy and it's passing through you to another person.
Yeah.
And that's how true prosperity, really works. But the minute that you take these secular idiots and get selfish and think only about themselves, they break that chain. So I will push harshly against people that are so freaking selfish that they're only worried about what is in their way or what is inconvenient to them. And they're not looking about somebody else who's inconvenienced or in somebody else's way, that, whether it be a ramp, right? They can't get their wheelchair in their house. Like, you think about what you're dealing with today and somebody else's plight, there's somebody worse than you.
Yeah.
Right? So you can take your little inconveniences, shelve them, and go help somebody who's struggling more than you.
Yeah, because I feel like so many of them will have this sort of sense of like, they spout off so loudly this idea of acceptance and respect and love and kindness and all these things that they want for certain groups, while not giving that to another. It's like, what you actually mean is you want love and acceptance and kindness and all these things for you all, not everybody, because you don't even see that what you're doing is stifling these groups. And if they say anything, they're now the bad people that hate love and acceptance and kindness. And it's like,
but it's weaponized. So it's the
Mhm.
worst version of that, because it's like, okay, I want to take a group of invalids that can't physically or mentally do a challenge, right?
Mhm.
And so if you're like, oh, I really care about these people, then what would you do? You would take part of your vacation day and your time and go help these people. And that's you helping the people that you care about. But weaponized, meaning that I'm not going to do anything. That guy over there, we're going to take all of his shit and we're going to make somebody else help those people. And I'm going to feel noble. And I didn't do anything except for demand and boss everybody around with what should happen.
Yeah.
And that is the worst expression of empathy. And you know, Julie, I hate to always pick on you, but I love picking on you altogether. But pointing out, and I understand it. I kind of know what all Democrats are going to say, because they are in a culture of that. They are sure of it, right? And when I pointed out, it's really hard to hear that even though you're on the pursuit of being a good person, you might be a bad person by objective standards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying Julie doesn't do nice things for other people, but demanding that other people do nice things for other people while trying to hurt the people you disagree with, that's an evil. That's the devil. And again, Leviticus 79, verse 104
of Abraham.
Part B.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part B.
There's no part B from Bible.
I don't know. I like how Jerry says, morning drinking, day drinking, don't be a hater. LOL. Not hating on it, just a little jealous. No. Yeah. It is so frustrating that the idea of servitude, kindness, caring, empathy is weaponized.
Yes.
It is something we all could practice, and we may all even be in situations that we are. But depending on what team you're doing it on, you can be accused of not. You know, I remember when I was sort of more in that sort of Democratic mindset years ago, there were certain people like podcasters and these conservatives that you'd see online, and these people you would see as like, what are they called? On a show, news organization.
Commentary?
Yes. Commentator, yes. And I just, without any real explanation, hated them. Like, oh my God, what a jerk. What a greedy, selfish jerk. Doesn't care about people, blah, blah, blah. And then as I started to do more digging and deep diving into different issues and why certain candidates want certain things and trying to figure out who I'm going to vote for, I started listening to them. Honestly, to be like, see, told ya, you're such a selfish jerk. And I went, oh my God, they make sense.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a jerk at all. And if you let them speak and explain where they're coming from, it actually really is from a place of caring for someone and wanting to help people. But because it doesn't look like your idea of helping people, they must not be. And it's like, why don't you think that your idea of helping people is not helping them? You're giving them sympathy, but you're not helping them. So why hate someone that maybe looks a little rough because they're not saying poor you, there's nothing you could do, but they're actually helping them and they're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like good versus evil, right, wrong, good and bad on these sides. And it's like, that's not what this should be. It's just two different ideas of how to serve the same person.
So have you figured out in the big, beautiful bill, like, do you think what's happening with Hakeem Jeffries and this big grandstanding that he's doing, do you think he really believes that the big, beautiful bill is main intent is to take vulnerable people and just cast them into nothingness? Do you think they believe that, or do you think it's just politically expedient?
I feel like the majority is just political theater, because I'm someone who will go into something like that and I don't know what it says. So when I go and read things about what, and I'm not talking about this bill in particular, but anything that is being polarized, when I see the language used and I see what it actually says, more and more often, I'm like, that's not what it says. That's not what they're doing. That's not. And to me, anybody who can just read something and either not I don't think it's them not understanding it. I think you're smart enough to get to where you are, which tells me you're just pulling for your side. You're just fighting it. You know, like if I would be really interested if some of the again, not all, if some documentation of different ideas were presented to both sides and nobody knew where it came from or who drafted it or whose idea it was, they'd probably act differently.
I've read it 4 times, wanting to know that if there is any validity, that this bill is just ugly and it just going after a subset of people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've read it 4 times and I have no more insight into why that has evolved into the meanness of Medicaid and the cuts that are being made.
Yeah.
And how you come to the conclusion that people are going to die. 17 million people are going to be cut off. Like, you arrived at that hypothetical and you're either going to be right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say you and I put this, you and I doing Joe's interdependence plan, and we're going to go attack and know that if worst case scenario, you got a bunch of people who get kicked off of Medicaid and now are suffering, that we can be there to teach people who not to need the government anymore. Right. Those are our prime candidates. But if it doesn't do any of that, and there are just people who are like, oh, my benefits really didn't change, and the only thing that was ripped out of it was fraud and waste, that nobody really got damaged because of this. And now there are a couple more people working than there were yesterday. Joe's interdependence plan, I still have a group of people that need and want and require this. And so there's no downside to me getting involved, but so long that I'm trying to like align myself with what's to happen if this bill passes today, I don't even know what it means. And if the regular public can't read the bill and know what that really means, we're in big trouble.
Somebody said to me yesterday, oh, I'm real concerned about so-and-so with this big bill, and they're going to lose all their benefits and they're going to, I said, are they? What did it say? I haven't seen the verbiage yet. Oh, I don't know what it says. Then how do you know?
I think I printed a couple of things out, and I'm just going to give you my insight. Maybe I'm just too dumb to know what this stuff means, and someone can in the chat can tell us. Okay. So, and these are bullet points. These are just this is Grok telling me what it means, what cuts are there. There is now a work requirements for adults that potentially affect 36 million enrollees, leading to 10.3 million losing coverage due administrative barriers. These are people now that it's predicated that you have to put 20 hours of work a month in order to receive benefits.
20 a month?
20. It's either 20. Let me look, because I don't know. And I don't want to be wrong. Big, beautiful bill. It's just BBB now. Work required.
That looks like Better Business Bureau. They might want to rethink that. See? See? You get the Better Business Bureau if you Google it.
Beautiful bill. All right.
Myth versus fact.
It said 20 right at the beginning of this. The 20-hour weekly work requirement applies only to able-bodied adults. So it's 20 hours a week.
Okay.
All right.
Applies only to able-bodied adults.
There we go. Mike said it's 20 hours a week. Okay. So the work requirement means that if you're receiving benefits and you are able-bodied, you are capable of working, that you need to go get at least 20 hours a week to still receive your benefits. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was number one. And if any of you reading these, if that feels like it's too high of a barrier, working 20 hours a week, let me know.
And to clarify, I'm assuming your benefits will stay the same.
Yes.
And you will add a paycheck on top of that.
20 hours a week.
They're not deducting anything.
No. Just a work requirement that you have to then go get a job with at least 20 hours a week.
Okay.
Reduce federal matching rates for Medicaid expansion, impacting states covered undocumented immigrants or lawfully residing groups. Okay, so in sanctuary cities, the recipients within your state are governed by the state. So if I cut you a check for $10 billion for Medicaid, then they make the benefit payment to the people of the state. So if I have an illegal immigrant that is working and the federal government is illegal in order to collect Medicaid, the state can decide to distribute those Medicaid funds to people who aren't entitled to them. So the illegal immigration people get cut out. Now, those are human beings here illegally, another topic for another day, but that's the portion of the illegal immigrants.
Okay.
And restrictions on provider taxes and state-directed payments, reducing federal funds. I don't understand that one at all.
Can you say that again?
Restrictions on provider taxes and state-directed payments, reducing federal funds.
Provider as in healthcare
Probably.
provider? Restrictions on their...
Restrictions on provider taxes and state-directed payments, reducing federal funds. So
or are you a provider for your household?
I don't know. So
That's
if anybody...
a little vague.
And then the last bullet point is the CBO estimates these changes will result in 11.8 million more uninsured people by 2034, with 10.3 million losing Medicaid enrollments, either through one of those three things. Either you don't do the job requirements, you were not supposed to be receiving the benefit in the first place, and whatever that third one is, restrictions on provider taxes and state-directed payments, reducing federal funds. Let's see. And those losses are often framed as addressing fraud, waste, and abuse, but the cuts primarily affect eligible beneficiaries through stricter rules, not proven fraud. And I don't know what those stricter deals probably... My guess, and I'm just guessing on that third one, is how Medicare works in conjunction with state programs and insurance programs, that it's not going to be congruent, and there's going to be things that the government stops paying for, and then the states have to be like, well, how do we create or keep providing this benefit when it disappeared on the federal funding level? But I don't know the details of it. I don't know what would be drying up, but it seems like work requirements going to affect 10 million people. If there's 17 million total, so 10 million of them are going to be affected by work requirements. 2 million of them are affected because there were illegal immigrants that were collecting. So there's 5 million more people that will be affected based on whatever that third bullet point is. So that's
this
in a nutshell.
Is where we need Julie or someone like-minded to say, what's bad about this? Why is that a bad thing?
Yeah, because legislatively, if there's a portion that the federal government was paying into the state systems that disappears, then just fix it with legislation to fix it the right way. There's going to be a reason it's cut. I don't know why they cut it in the first place. It has to be some kind of waste or inefficient process. So invent a new one that fills in that gap for those 5 million people. If they're a true beneficiary that should be receiving it, and it's just a mechanism problem, not necessarily a benefits problem, then figure it out. You can go through one legislative session. You can put that one idea on the table and say, hey guys, want to backfill this deal, right? Mm-hmm. Let's fix this part of the problem, vote on it, and I bet you'd have a majority of people. If it's a true benefit, right, and it's just a casualty of the mechanism, then they can fix that in one session.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm pretty sure it says in there pretty clearly, this is able-bodied people. We are not talking about people that are truly suffering with some sort of disability or whatever. Able-bodied people. And I think, I'm not positive, I think maybe it even excludes people like pregnant people and veterans and things of that nature.
Able-bodied means that they have the physical capacity and the ability in all ways.
Yeah.
And if that's almost 11 million people that are in that category that just are not working,
I believe it.
And they are collecting a benefits check, and all they have to do is check that box. I think there are more, just like every other program. We talked about the handicap parking thing. Not everybody should be on that program, but because it's very adopting and because we're so caring, we've allowed people who don't need the benefit are on the benefit. And I think that just singles out that if there's 11 million people that are playing video games right now that could totally be flipping burgers and they're just below them, then if that's the part of that group, then get them out there
this
working.
Family member that my other family member is concerned about losing, SNAP or any of these other benefits, I said, well, do they have documentation that they're on disability and there's a real true reason here that he can't physically do anything? No. Go get that. Like, seriously? Like, oh, this is going to be so terrible. It's going to take this away. And I said, do you realize that under the government's view of him or anyone's view of him, looks no different than if I today said, I don't want to work anymore. I'm just going to go home. And I just didn't go to work. I don't want to. Why? I can live with you and you'll give me roof over my head and food, and I'll just go and get benefits from the government.
Do you know why that's such a bad idea? The framers, like, they laid this out. Do you know that the government doesn't know you by name at all? Like, it doesn't know you, doesn't care about you, didn't have one thought about you today.
Yep.
So in order to make sure that we take care of all people, we have to have these benefits that, you know, sort of like build the waste and fraud into their model, because they can't get to know you. And if you really do it, so we just open it so that we include 75%, the 25% is something that we tolerate. Mm-hmm. You know who doesn't do that? Your local church, right? Or your local nonprofit, where you can sit there in front of them and have a conversation, and then they can decide how they're going to help you based on face-to-face conversations. And they can worry about you, and they can call you to see how you're going, and they can give you the benefit and hold you accountable to make sure that you really need it. And when you move on from it and don't need it anymore, it can move on to the next person. So who is the best arbiter of benefits? It is not the effing federal government at all.
Yeah.
If they can't know you, they don't know if you're messing with the program and taking advantage of it. So you could totally slide in there. All you got to say, I'm a victim, take care of me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like, if you lose benefits then because you just, I don't know, stopped working and you have no medical records from any local government, anything whatsoever saying, hey, this person has a legitimate reason to be on disability, then you're going to get cut. And it's rightly so.
And it's because you gave the responsibility to the inhuman, non-paying attention government apparatus, and the casualty was made when you decided to give that responsibility to them, because they're inept. And everybody can tell you, they are terrible, inept, inefficient people. So if the outcome of a system that you give them becomes exactly what you know they are, it is your fault for asking them to do more, not less.
Yeah, I've always said, don't even get me started when it comes to the whole unemployment debacle.
Yes.
And
it's
like
a terrible system.
There's twice in my life I was laid off from a position, and they said, here's what you need to do. Go put in a claim with the state, for unemployment, yada, yada, yada. And so I did. And it is the most ridiculous shitstorm of
that is government.
Ridiculous. Like, oh my God. And they'll say, well, it's not an easy process because so many people are fraudulent and try to abuse it. So we have to have all these hoops, and then they make a mistake. And who's on the hook for their mistake? You are.
Yep. Julie says, are employers standing up and saying, we want these people? 33,000 formerly working people lost their job last month. We are at full employment as far as numbers are concerned. And I work with the labor market every single day of my life and look at the number of job openings that are there. And the employment market will adapt to the available talent that are in the pool. And so, yes, I 100% guarantee that if those people went onto the job market and they allowed themselves to be claimed without stipulation of what you'll be doing, just doing something, we will set a new record on what full employment means. If you took 10 million people and dropped them in the labor market and filled all of these roles that are much needed.
Especially when that reason goes out the window of, well, I can't make enough money there.
Yeah.
You're
bullshit.
already on government assistance.
You're doing nothing and benefit. Now you're going to take a paycheck and benefits.
Yes.
Your life is improved no matter what.
No longer an excuse.
I don't care if you went to the convenience store, the retail shop, or a fast food restaurant, and you got a job, no matter what it was, even if it pays $7.50 an hour. Right?
Yep.
It replaced you not doing anything. So everything is better than that.
Yeah. And what in your life gets worse because of this? What?
Nothing.
I'm trying to devil's advocate. What would be the downside? The only thing I can think of is somebody maybe pushing back and saying, well, what about childcare? I have kids and now I have to go somewhere to work. I can't afford daycare. But is that maybe a government benefit? I don't know. That could be the one thing I think is, what do I do with my kids?
You take a hypothetical, you put it in front of your legislature, and you basically solve that problem. Exemption for people who have children, and then everybody else does the work requirement, or childcare provided as part of your benefits. You get a little added benefit and you go to work. So do politicians, is it more important to them that they dry up your benefits, right? Or they want you out in the workforce? I'm going to say whatever gets you working again, even if childcare is being, created for you, even if an expense is added, it gets you in the effing workforce. And that's what I think the whole design is.
I know someone who works in HR in their company and told me they literally had an employee one time that said out loud, I need to hurry up and have another kid so I don't lose my benefits and that I can keep my check coming in. And I went, again, I guess that would be the exception, is you are going to have a-holes that try to work a system.
Every system.
And say, well, I got to go back to work if I don't have any more young kids. So I better go ahead and get pregnant so I don't have to go to work.
We do have population collapse. So the more people having babies, the better. So if that's the outcome, is that we solve that part of the problem, it just costs us a little bit more. So be it. Women, go have more kids. We need let's see. Penny says, you're gonna have to read that. I got glare on my screen.
You err on the side of helping too many so you can help some. Work requirements have been tried in other states and don't work. Most people on Medicaid aren't home playing video games.
I need some data. Can you show me data? I'll respond to each one of them just with whatever I'm thinking.
All Walmart employees are on Medicaid. Why not go after Walmart instead of people on Medicaid?
What? All Walmart employees on Medicaid. Go after them in what capacity? Like, we want Walmart to create more jobs that people on Medicaid.
Scroll down. There's more. They're saying, is it they should pay them more? Child care is bingo. Yes. Ask legislators for child care. Gee, why didn't anyone think of that?
What do you mean?
Because I think they're saying, we've already been saying, hey, we need better childcare. Childcare is too expensive. I can't work because childcare is expensive. That this has been an issue, and possibly
as a part of what? Like, this is day one that we're solving this problem. Like, maybe in the past that childcare is a benefit for Medicaid wasn't there, but it was broken before. So, like,
yeah,
we're forward linking. So I know you've got. You've got criticism for how it was. We're looking about what it should be in the future. The overall philosophy is we take care of people who can't. Can't is the effective word. Establishing what can't means, right? And then making exemptions for people who can't, or adding benefits to make more able, and so more cans can happen.
Yeah, and the idea of, well, someone's working at Walmart and they don't make a lot of money, so they're on Medicaid. That's not who we're talking about, because again, that is somebody who is working and receiving benefits. That's what we're saying people can do, is even if you are receiving this benefit, you still need to show that you're working.
You're being baited in that conversation. Let me just fill that in. That was a bad ploy by Penny Lane there that tried to get you cornered in. So Democrats want more dependence and everybody's health care to be provided. So they think it's a great sin that if Walmart hires you, instead of paying you medical benefits, that then you have to go on Medicaid in order to pay for your own medical benefits because they don't pay enough. So look at Walmart, and here's where the envy starts coming out. They've got more. Take some of theirs.
They must be the bad guy.
Provide the child care. But when it's the taxpayer who's really formulating this stuff and say, do we want a lot of people to be victims of this situation? No, let's try to make less of them. So you got to follow the philosophy, and we can't really take what's happened before and use that as a predicate to keep doing wrong things. I'm not taking money from Walmart. They can pay people whatever they want to pay. I'm not going to force them to pay benefits. However they're doing it is how they're going to doing it. All I'm saying is that they're the people that are victims of that, or they're reminded that they're being taken advantage of by Walmarts, and they're being taken advantage of by capitalists, and they're being taken advantage of by an economy and the stock market and whatever. That is all bullshit. And stop telling people that Walmart's the problem. It's the people who are the victims that are making bad choices. And the people that didn't make any bad choices, it's beyond their control. Then we all take care of them and try to get them ingrained in society with sort of like forward looking, being part of the process and being contributors forward. So again, I won't be baited. Kelin won't either. She's a nice person, but I think it would, you would be an easier mark for being.
And that's kind of what we talked about yesterday was when I saw that video online where it said 2 different worlds and it showed our big, rich, wealthy celebrities at a wealthy celebrity wedding and then children crying in the streets of a foreign country.
It's emotional blackmail. Stop doing that shit.
It's like, because they have money, that is not the reason they don't have money.
Yeah. You can't take other people's shit. Because you wouldn't like people taking your shit, so you can't take other people's shit. End of story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been in situations where somebody would either see something I had or something I'm able to do and be like, oh, must be nice. Yeah, it is nice. What time did you leave work yesterday? You want to know what time I left work yesterday? What time did you get up this morning? You want to know what time I got up this morning? How many kids did you have before you had a job? Let's see how many kids I had before I ever had a job. Like, it is nice when you work hard and follow processes that make sense rather than just, well, I don't want to do those things. I just want you to give me what you have. That's bull crap.
So I'm going to reference Deuteronomy Section B 103.7, the scorpion and the frog, and it's just their nature.
The scorpion and the frog.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite little.
Do I know the scorpion and the frog?
Really?
This is weird. I saw a person yesterday that had not 1, but 2 golden scorpion necklaces on.
Okay. Can I tell you the story? Can I give you the paraphrase?
It stood out to me like, what a unique necklace, scorpions. And here you are talking about scorpions.
Yeah. The frog and the scorpion were on the riverbank, right?
Yeah.
And the scorpion says, hey, can I get a ride to the other side of the river? And the frog says, you are surely going to sting me if I give you a ride. And the scorpion says, I will not sting you if I give you a ride. And the frog says, no, I think you will. I think you're going to sting me if you give you this ride. And he says, no, if I sting you, we're both going to drown. Right. And so the frog gets going across the river and the scorpion gets on his back. And about halfway through, the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog says, I thought you weren't going to do that to me. Why did you do that? And the scorpion says, it's in my nature.
I'm a scorpion.
Let you know how people should be treated, because the scorpion doesn't know any different. It will always freaking sting you. And I know I butchered the shit out of the scorpion, the frog. It's been probably 30 years since I actually heard.
It made sense. I get it.
Yeah, it's in my nature. But that was from Deuteronomy, and it was definitely referenced by God in subsection 43:7. Is this blasphemy? Am I going to hell because
Probably.
I'm taking excerpts from the Bible that I
probably are teaching false? Is that false prophecy?
Yes, I'm doing false. It might be a big sin.
I've been watching the show The Chosen, and I hear that's not a good thing. Okay. Is false prophecy.
Well, I'll apologize. I hear you could kind of make up the difference.
Yeah, Jesus has a sense of humor, though. So.
And you think it was humorous?
If you watch the show The Chosen, he's funny.
Jesus was funny?
He was funny. You ever watched The Chosen?
I watched some. I don't recall him being funny at all. Oh my God,
he cracked so many jokes.
Seriously.
It's so funny.
Oh, I gotta watch it. Yes. I gotta watch more.
Oh my God, he makes so many jokes. Like he said something. Oh my God, I can't remember what it was. He said something. Everybody looked at him and he goes, "What? Too soon?" And it was a funny joke.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, he's
gonna be good.
So humorous in that show.
We're invoking billionaires. Julie, thank you so much for giving me fodder.
Yay.
Why do billionaires need a tax cut? They already get preferential treatment and loopholes that the middle class doesn't get. False premise, 100%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how I feel about taxes. Taxes are effing theft. What are the government? Theft. What is the government? What are they entitled to is zero, right? When the government wants to do a big thing, it says, I want to do this big thing. And then we're like, temporarily, we're going to give you 2% of our income to fund your thing, right? And then after your thing is done, the tax goes over there. You don't need a perpetual tax that keeps going up so you can keep spending stupid money with no accountability. It's when you need it, you ask for it, and I can say yes or no, and if I don't like it, I can say no. So corporate taxes should be zero. Income taxes should be zero. Taxes should be a temporary negotiation between two people, because the government is freaking evil and they steal from people, and people like Julie will then lay down cover fire for the thieves rather than the people that are victimized by the theft. So yes, billionaires don't need it. You don't need a flat screen television. Nobody wants to tell anybody else what they need or don't need. You're not an arbiter of what is valued or acceptable for other people to have that's not you. That's just envy. And back to Deuteronomy, envy's bad.
Envy's bad. Real quick, Scott says, love The Chosen. Jesus definitely had a sense of humor in real life. I mean, he was Jesus. LOL. Yeah, you got to go back and watch it.
You think he and I would get along
funny.
if we were ever on the same timeline and Jesus and I were hanging out? Do you think he would hate me, love me?
If Jesus is like the portrayal of Jesus in the show The Chosen, yeah, I think you guys would get along. Yeah.
Okay. We could do some big shit. Like if he ever wanted to come back, like if he came back and said, I am Jesus, nobody would believe him anyway. So he'd be really
they didn't believe
frustrated.
him in the show.
So
Yeah.
I would find him, and then he and we would start doing some business together, and I would help him further his obligations to be the second coming of the Messiah. And then he would help me in all of the superpowers to smite all of my enemies. And both.
But are you going to believe him? Because I'll tell you about strange coincidences and you instantly say it's a mentalist and here's how they do it. And it doesn't mean anything.
No,
if it does?
He is used to being tested. All I would have to do is say, I got to speak it. Prove to me, Jesus, that you are the sacred one.
Yeah.
Make a miracle happen in front of me and I shall follow you.
Turns your coffee to wine.
Exactly. He'll do it.
Yeah, he would.
And he'll buy me out or win me over. And I'll buy in. So
Julie says Jesus would be deported by Republicans. That's funny.
that is effing funny.
You might be. Jesus, do you got papers?
I will vouch for Jesus, and I will make sure that he
come back legally.
Right. So he ends up in this country. Nobody can figure out where his origin was. We'll file paperwork and make sure that he gets a green card because I think he has attributes that we'd need in society. And then I would be a sponsor. Jesus would be okay.
Carter said he would enter legally. He would be legit.
How would that even work? Like, if Jesus comes back, like, how is it like? What if a UFO drops him off? If he comes down in a beam of light? If he comes out of the ground like a locust?
What if he's born from a virgin again?
What if he's born from a virgin? And
we're never gonna believe this girl's a virgin.
But he would then be he would be a legal citizen, so that would not that would be less complicated.
Before we get too far off the subject, I was reminded about something I watched yesterday when we're talking about sort of where to place the blame and blaming the wrong person and perpetuating this. I learned something yesterday I never knew.
Oh, this is a South Park moment.
What?
This is where Kyle goes into it. So go ahead.
Oh, I was watching, you know, those shows, we've talked about this before, and anybody can find these on YouTube, the Jubilee podcast where it's one so-and-so surrounded by so-and-so and they debate.
Yeah.
There was Candace Owens, who is a well-known conservative surrounded by 20 feminists. Mm-hmm. And she was saying these ideals like, she says, I believe that women who choose to stay home and raise a family and have children are infinitely happier than the women who don't. And people would have to debate her on that. And it led into this conversation about the sexual revolution. And she thinks the sexual revolution and women, you know, being able to go out into the workforce and, for lack of a better phrasing, live like a man. And she thinks if you give sex away for free, you are devalued and you're never going to have these things in life that'll make you happy and all this stuff. And all these people are, you know, pushing back on her. And she said, I can't remember her name, but there was like a really well-known feminist rights activist that was real outspoken and had all these campaigns about women should be able to work and women should earn a paycheck and women should get this and that and fought for these freedoms and won. That woman, her campaign was funded by the CIA of our government. They wanted women out in the workforce so that they could tax a household twice. And that's what they made you think. It's empowering you and you're now equal to a man and this is going to give you a sense of purpose and you're going to be happy and she said, you look at the statistics, those new women in this field are drinking more, are popping pills more, are clinically depressed more often, suicide rates are not better. And this whole idea of this feminist movement and a woman living that way was literally funded by the government to make you think that's what you want so we can tax you and get your money. And I'm like,
manipulated.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I'm for one side or the other. Obviously, I have a family and raise kids, and absolutely, I would never give that up or give that back. And I could see, you hear people on their deathbed say, nobody says, bring me my degrees or bring me my pay stubs. And let me show you. It's bring me my family, bring me the people I love. And so I get it. I see ups and downs on both sides, but I went, and there was a little fact check thing too about everything she said. And I was like, our government pushed an idea on us and made us think it's virtuous and good and right so that they could manipulate us into getting something from us. Even that.
So we can add that to my interdependence push. Do you think I should take up some feminist type of activism?
Do I think you should?
There's only one rule.
Yeah.
Right? It's, I'm not going to force you to do anything. It's anything you want to do. If you are so desire to do a thing, I'm going to help you to achieve whatever it is that your goals are. And you only have one. Give more than you get. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a take something from somebody else. It's you want to go do this. Just make sure that you are paying it forward and giving enough value to make a transaction happen, infinitely. So it could very well empower all people. It doesn't have to be a woman. It doesn't have to be a minority. It doesn't have to be a poor person. This can apply to literally everyone. So every movement can join me because it only has those simple rules, right? I can measure it. Do you want it? Yes. Do you have the responsibility and the conviction in order to be responsible with it? Yes. And are you giving back more value than you're getting? Yes. And as long as you do those three things, you're good by my my program.
How would you measure it that somebody was giving back more than they're giving? What if someone's like, I'm doing a lot more. And you're like, really, you're not.
Well, same thing. Like if I sit back at my table and I want to evaluate what you're doing, I make you write down everything that you're doing and we add it up. It's all just math. When you
kind of like what Elon Musk did.
100%.
I want an email. You tell me what you're doing. I want to see the value I'm getting.
Yeah.
And everybody went, you can't do that.
At the end of the day, you can calculate the value that you're giving versus the value they're getting. And if one is lopsided, then you change it. And if you're trying to give more than you get, right, then you will always enter. If you go to a store and you give $10 and you get $15 worth of value, right, you will make that transaction all day. If you go to the store, spend $10 and you get $5 worth of value, you are going to seek another vendor.
Yeah.
And the only way that I can make you enter into that transaction is if I hold you hostage and make you come to my store and you have no other options.
Because couldn't somebody sort of turn that around on the government? Like, okay, I want to see my value I'm getting here.
100%.
I got to get up at 5:30 in the morning.
Yep.
To get my kids ready and out the door. I have to drive them to a daycare facility of which I pay for. I have to then go to work and be there until at
100%.
least 5 o'clock or later, and then come home and take care of this family again, and maybe do a couple of other things that I have to do in my life that is required of me. Go to bed and start it all over every single day of the week for the next foreseeable future of my one and only life. And I look at my pay stub and I see, you took my money for this, and you took my money for this, and you took my money for this.
Okay, so if you measure
what am I getting?
You would then have an itemized bill of the values you're getting for the taxes that you're paying. So let's just say you're paying $10,000 a year in taxes, right? And basically, you get your itemized billing, and then you write your tax check. It doesn't come out of your paycheck, because if I wanted to hold you hostage and not really see what I'd make you make biweekly payments to me, so you never see how much you're really paying. But you're looking at that $10,000. And you're looking at the value that was supplied to you. And either you're going to feel good about what you were sold or bad about what you were sold. So let's just say we raise Social Security on wealthy people, right? And so if the value can be increased, if you increase my cost, right, you have to then justify the value that you're going to give me more. So let's just say you take someone that's pulling $1 million. And we increase the cap from $170,000 to $1 million. So they now are paying 15% of Social Security taxes on their income. So $1 million, that'd be $150,000 more dollars. So we're like, hey, dude, I want to charge you $150,000 more dollars. I'm like, okay, well, when do I get extra for that 150 million or 150,000? And they're like, oh no, we're not going to give you anything. You're just going to pay more into it so somebody else can receive more benefit. And you're going to say, well, no, I'm not doing that deal. Are you going to give me a return on my investment? Are you going to give me things that I would absolutely make that deal? If you have a gun and you're pointing it at me, that's the only way that you can pull that off. So if you hold people hostage, they will do it. If you give them choices, they're going to gravitate towards an adaptable marketplace that will give them exactly what they're asking for.
Yeah. If I see so much of my money was taken from me for, I don't know, infrastructure. Well, those are for the roads. Oh, the road that I just jacked my tire on and cost me money? No, I want my money back. Because clearly what you're taking from me is not giving me good value.
Basically, you go out and nothing is free. Everything that you do and use and see and participate in, you have to pay a toll to use that. So to use a road that somebody owns, you pay them money. They divide it down. In order to drive on that road, you pay them money. You want to call the fire or police department, it's a cost. They send you an invoice after. So the people who use services pay more. The people who use services pay less. Now taxes aren't necessary. Right?
Yeah.
You are directly paying the things that you're consuming. You're getting a 1-for-1 value and you're shopping deal. So let's just say 680 costs $10, right? And Route 11 costs $7. So then people travel on 11 because they can save $3 on getting from where we are to Girard, right? Even if it's a little bit longer, it's cheaper. Now the 11 is making a ton of tolls, and 680, because they're too expensive, they're not making any tolls at all. So they lower their prices down to $7. And now you'll drive 680 because they competed for you, right? And valued you. They're trying to give you more services at a more competitive cost.
You know how many times I've heard of people passing up a gas station because this gas station is cheaper?
And it forces the other one to at least contemplate. Maybe they're satisfied. Maybe the Rolex is selling, or Boeing selling 17 jets a year, and Cessna having to sell, 100,000 airplanes a year. Maybe the volume is important to Rolex or Boeing.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Yes, it would.
Because you're paying for it anyways.
That's right. But we're doing it in the least efficient, worst way possible because of the administrative costs. They're not doing it well. So we might as well pay that all directly. It's only the people then that can't pay it can't drive, right? So the way that they do that is they pool it together, and then you end up paying for the toll for 680 on someone who doesn't or can't. But then we start putting people who can afford it, but they just make you pay for their toll. And then that's when people who pay the toll are like, hold on, why am I paying his toll? He can absolutely bid, but he just bought this and did this and did this. So that's where taxes don't work, because then we get and start scrutinize how the money is being spent, because we don't like paying for other people's shit. Especially when they're abusing a system that are supposed to be very noble and very, sort of like empathetic.
You have me thinking of all kinds of examples now of, what if we just paid to go there? What if we just paid to 100%. Do this?
Don't make it like some pooled risk thing.
Like if I have the same route I follow every day, I'll pay to upkeep that road.
Yeah. And
I don't care about that road.
100%. And
I don't even live over there.
People use it. They buy it. You travel on it.
Pay for
you
that.
Have a little meter that rolls in your car that every road that you use, it pays them their portion of the toll. Then you keep driving on that road if it's nice and presentable and acceptable. And they have an incentive to keep it going, keep a nice road, lots of lanes, no traffic.
It's going to kind of be like the neighbors, where you see what neighbors take care of their stuff and what neighbors don't.
Give the incentive to take care of the infrastructure when you have to pay to use it.
Then there's more value in some areas 100%. Than the other.
Yeah, it's good philosophy.
And you can't go and ruin another area. So like, if there's an area that everybody's paying and keeping it nice and caring for it, and someone's like, oh, I really like that, I'm going to go move into that area, and they don't take care of things or keep it nice or whatever, and then it sort of devalues that area. You can't really do that because you can't be here unless you can pay your way.
That's right. Yeah, you have less abuses because people aren't free freaking loading. They're not freeloading.
Yeah.
The freeloaders would destroy things because they don't respect it and value the things that they're using to take advantage of it. So do you think you, as a person that has to pay for a hospital visit, use the hospital less than someone who it's free, where they just go for everything?
Yeah, that's insane. The people that use it as like their
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't try not to use it because it's freaking free.
I was in an emergency room one time, and I'm sitting there. Well, not for me. I didn't need an emergency room, but I was there for someone else. And so I'm sitting around and I see this person come in and they're being checked in and they're like, what do you need today? You need to see a doctor? Yeah, I want them to check my teeth because I'm thinking about getting a grill. So I need them to look at my teeth. This man was clearly mentally ill. Obviously did not need an emergency room. They even had someone else come out and say, are you requiring medical attention today? And trying to talk to him. And I remember this man was there like all night long into the next day. Now, if he is actually seen by a provider and dismissed, and everybody there knows he's just got mental health issues, but we're required to see him, and I paid for that.
Yep. Yeah. The people
Something's
who pay
got to be done.
The people who pay should have a say. That's my Johnny Cochran.
The people who pay should have a say. That's a good one.
Thank you.
Did you make that up?
I did on the fly.
Oh my God. You better copyright that. People who pay should have a say.
Yep.
Yes. And if you don't, you won't.
It's okay. Not as good as the first one, but it's a good time.
But yeah, I mean, sit there and anybody who is like, oh, we should give free this and we should give free that. It's never free. Somebody's paying for it. And if you need a good illustration, go to the local emergency room and just sit there and watch everybody who comes in that you know is not paying for that. You are. And see how much money you're losing every day. Yeah. It makes too much sense.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not.
Make it make sense.
I am not going to. I'm going to dismiss objections based on the status quo people because I am not about just letting the way things are. Like I see an opportunity. I see a whole group of people who need rescued in the way that I know how to rescue people. And there's enough of them that I don't have to really cater to the people who don't think I should do it or think it can't be done or whatever. I'm just going to go freaking do it and let people join me who's on board, and everybody else, I don't care. Because our toll road idea is as crazy, right, as the stuff I'm suggesting. Because everybody who doesn't want that to happen or doesn't want that kind of change is going to try to poke holes in why that is the worst idea on the planet.
Yeah.
And I don't effing care at all. Your way sucks. And even if mine's different and it sucks equal, at least I have the ability to call it out when it sucks and says, well, I'm going to try something else, versus saying, it sucks now, but I don't want to try anything different. I just want you to be held hostage to everything sucking and do absolutely nothing about it. That's why the Hakeem Jeffries and the time wasters who are just repeating those things on the House floor right now, you're the status quo. They're fighting for the status quo, and they should shut up.
Yes. This is one of those, if you want to embark change or disagree with something, here are the key phrases you're not allowed to say.
That's it.
And if you do, we're shutting you down. You clearly got nothing.
So since we're going to the 4th of July, I want to read a little excerpt. Are you celebrating 4th of July, by the way? Or
I am, yeah.
Okay, lighting fireworks off?
I won't light them, but I'll watch them.
Okay. Let's see. Who was this? This was John Adams, right?
John Adams.
Familiar with Mr. Adams?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Continental Congress resolved on the 2nd of July, 1776, that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states. The next day, July 3rd, 1776, John Adams wrote to Abigail Adams and reflected on the event and tried to sum up what it meant for Americans of his own time and in the future. He was right about everything except for the date. So he thought July 2nd was going to be the celebrated date. Okay, because that was the day that it was signed and all things delivered. It wasn't July 4th is when we actually celebrate. So here's his letter to his wife, Abigail. This do I read it in John Adams? Because I don't know what he sounded like.
Yeah, I don't know what he would have sounded like.
So this will be my John Adams, even though I don't know if it's even accurate. The 2nd day of July, 1776, will be the most memorable epocha era.
Epocha?
The memorable era in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as a day of deliverance by solemn acts of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, and shows, games, sports, guns and bells, bonfires, illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore. So this July 2nd, which July 4th is a wrong date.
I was
we
like,
shall
that was
celebrate.
yesterday.
Make sure you bring out your bells and your guns and
Your
illuminations
bonfires and
really celebrate it the way that it needs to be celebrated. John Adams would agree with you.
heck yeah. I'll be up at Lake Erie and we just watch the fireworks over the lake and we play games and
All right, enjoy the holiday. We'll catch you guys next week.
yay! Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.